it be amazing if you had a genie who could warn you about what to avoid before accepting a job? Well, what if I told you I could be that genie for you? What if I could help you save time, energy, and the frustration of walking into work environments you were better off avoiding? In today's episode, I'm sharing some personal stories from my own job interviews and lessons I learned. We'll talk about how to spot red flags early so you can make smarter, more powerful decisions about where you work. I am your negotiation coach, Dr. Gloria Esoimeme. I'm board certified in internal medicine and I hold a master's in global health and a PhD in health services policy and management. So the last time I was actively job hunting, I made some intentional decisions even before stepping into any interview. First, I chose the location. I knew I wanted to work in Georgia. Then I decided on the minimum salary I was willing to accept. Quietly in the background, I also promised myself this, that if I ever found myself in a work environment that didn't support my growth or left me dreading the mornings, I would walk away. The truth is that as physicians, we have options. Finding a job isn't the hard part. The real challenge is finding a job where you're valued, fairly compensated, and genuinely enjoy your job. So once I defined my non-negotiables, I reached out to several recruiters across Georgia. And since I had close friends and family, staying in Georgia just made sense. And those recruiters connected me with 6 different hospitals and I interviewed with about 4. So my goal was not just to interview. I was determined to show up strong, ace every conversation, and walk away with offers. So in this episode, I'll share what happened at 3 of those hospital systems. Those lessons are not just for doctors, they apply no matter what field you're in. So the first opportunity was a decent sized hospital, well established, fully staffed with specialists, and I even knew a few people there. So on paper, it felt like a good match, but their recruitment process was painfully slow. And for me, that was a red flag. It signaled something deeper about the hospital's culture. So if it took that long just to schedule an interview, how long would it take to implement necessary changes or respond to real issues? And I knew they genuinely needed my services, but the delay told me everything I needed to know. I didn't even bother moving forward with the interview. Another hospital I interviewed with really impressed me. The people were warm and welcoming. During my visit, most of the doctors in the hospital made time to have lunch with me, and I genuinely liked the leadership. Well, but the downside was they didn't have full specialist support for complex cases, but that I was willing to overlook because they had they had a solid referral system to a larger hospital. But when the offer came through, the work schedule was not ideal and their pay did not meet my expectations. And just like that, it became a no for me. Culture is important, so is compensation and balance. Then there was this hospital. Honestly, it was overflowing with red flags. They might as well have painted the entire building red. So from the physician recruiter to the head of the internal medicine group to the medical director, every interaction raised concern. Even the doctors who worked there, they looked visibly unhappy. It didn't take long to realize this wasn't a place I could thrive, and I made a mental note to run, not walk, in the opposite direction. So let me give you some context. So for most physician and leadership roles, the interview process is where hospitals roll out the red carpet. So remember the hospital I talked about earlier, the one where most physicians and the leaders, they joined me for lunch. That was a little above and beyond, but even the baseline is usually quite respectful. Most places will take you out to dinner or at least arrange lunch with the team you'll be working with. It's usually a time to ask questions, feel the culture, and see if it's a fit. So when the recruiter offered to take me to lunch, I expected a version of that. She showed up with another woman. I think she was a nurse practitioner in some departments, and they immediately got into a conversation that I felt was personal. But I overheard one of them say, "Oh, there's this restaurant she's always wanted to try," and suggested we go there. Seemed fine at first. But once we sat down, the two of them just kept catching up, talking about their spouses, their kids, their lives. I tried to join in, ask about their children. I'm like, oh, can I see their pictures? They would show me the pictures and then go right back to their conversation like I wasn't there. Honestly, I felt like I had accidentally crashed the girls' lunch. I already made up my mind that I wanted to get offers from that place, from everywhere I interviewed, so I did my best to stay engaged. But that whole lunch was cliquish and I felt excluded in my own interview. But I gave them the benefit of doubt. After all, I wasn't going to be working with the recruiter or the nurse or that nurse practitioner. But I made a mental note of how that afternoon made me feel, and that foreshadowed what was coming. Next, I met with the head of the internal medicine group. He seemed like a decent guy at first. We talked about the program and how I could contribute, and then the conversation took a new turn. He launched into a full rundown of how he thought I should practice medicine. Look, don't get me wrong, I'm always open to growth and learning, but let's be honest, we all have our unique styles as clinicians. Whatever you do, you have your style. And if during my interview you feel the need to give me a mini residency on how to do my job, that's a red flag. So if I were already on the team and he noticed areas for improvement and he approached me about them, that's mentorship. But doing that even before I signed a contract, that signaled something else entirely. Still, I didn't write it off completely. It wasn't a deal breaker yet, but it just made my internal radar buzz. Then I met with the director of the program. He came across as warm, and I could tell he genuinely liked me. He mentioned how impressed he was with my training, and we talked about meaningful ways I could contribute to the program. But then out of nowhere, he started bad mouthing some of the foreign trained doctors. His tone shifted, he became condescending about people from certain neighborhoods. I sat there taking it in and realizing that because I earned my master's and PhD in the US, he must have forgotten or ignored that I was Nigerian and I was foreign trained, and the communities he was belittling, they looked a lot like me. I didn't know how to place him after that. On one hand, he sent me a contract even before I got home, almost immediately. That means he was eager to have me on board. But on the other hand, that conversation left a bad taste. He told me everything I needed to know about the culture I'll be working in. Then there were the physicians themselves. That was the last straw that broke the camel's back. I saw them there's like a physician's room where they all have computers. I saw them there, all of them hunched over their computers, eyes glued to the screens. Not one person looked up to say hello. The energy was heavy. They looked tired, overwhelmed. They looked defeated. That scene alone spoke volumes. So when I put all the red flags together, the cold reception, the director's attitude, the recruiter's clicky lunch, I knew this place wasn't for me. Even though they offered a solid salary and promising opportunities for research and patient care combined, I realized some things money just can't buy. Respect, culture, and a workplace where you actually want to show up. So, if someone lies to me and I fall for it, I don't feel bad. I just respect their cleverness and stay clear next time. But when I see red flags and choose to ignore them, only to watch those warning signs grow into full-blown problems, that's when I get mad at myself. So my point is simple. Don't be so desperate for a job that you set yourself up for failure by accepting an offer with glaring red flags right in front of you. So here are the key themes I used to guide my decisions, things you should watch out for too. So a workplace with slow decision making, no thank you. Cliquey environments, that's a hard pass. Micromanagement, absolutely not. Discrimination in any form, that's never to be tolerated. And I refuse to accept less than my benchmark salary. So know your values and stick to them. Your career deserves nothing less. So if this episode hits home for you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend or colleague who needs to hear this. And if you have any stories, share them with me. I'll feature them in my next episode. And if you're ready to take control of your career and avoid costly mistakes, I'm here to help. I have a few coaching spots open for strategic job seekers who want to fast track their success. Reach out to schedule a strategy call and let's see if we're a great fit. And remember, you were born with the potential to be great. You deserve a career where you feel valued, challenged, and fairly rewarded. Don't settle. Start negotiating for the job you truly want today. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week. Be great.